I want you to grab an object, any type. Try something like a pen or the remote or whatever is in close proximity to you. And I want you to put it just put it across the room, but in clear sight, maybe on the tabletop. Sit it across the room. You can still see it. It's clear. Now, for 30 seconds, and don't worry, I'm going to count, I want you to focus on this item coming into your hand. Okay? Focus on this item coming into your hand for 30 seconds. I'm going to count. Okay? Ready and go. All right, come on back. Now, if that object lifted and went into your hand, that is amazing. If it did not, then you're sitting there saying, oh, why did I just do this? This is just a waste of time. The question is, how often do you concentrate on this? Would you be able to do it if you concentrated on this? If you did this drill every single day, would you eventually be able to lift that item from its resting place and bring it to your hand? Is this something that you just see in movies? Movies are exaggerated truths. There are many things in movies that are actually nonfiction. But the challenge is figuring out where the truth is. That's the challenge. Most people blow off movies as just movies. So, your abilities, that has been the focus. For many of the episodes in this series, that has been the focus. Increasing your abilities. Now, of course, if you have been taking notes, if you have been attempting to track things, then you know the levels of your abilities. Perhaps this particular one is not one of your strengths, but healing is. Because if you were able to put your hand on a wound and it heals quickly in a matter of a few seconds or minutes, then that means that would be the strength of your abilities. Do you even know them? This is something to explore along the journey, something to evaluate and track. The ability to lift an object, bring it into your hand, the ability to heal or remove some type of illness, physical ailments, the ability to see into the future, the ability to use telepathy at a very high rate to a point to where you don't even need to speak at all. That's just scratching the surface of what we can do. There are things even further than that that can be done. But you have been told that these things do not exist, and they're only the product of movies and TV shows and, fictitious blah, blah. But then if you were to explore some of this stuff and put it to the test, because again, you were told that these things cannot happen and you just buy into it because there aren't enough examples of it happening, right? Perhaps if there were many examples of these things being real, then more people would buy in to these abilities. So it's easy to forget that that's what we can do. It's easy. Not only is it easy to forget, it's easy to dismiss. It's easy to blow things off when the general idea is that it's not possible. You blow it off. You don't buy into it. It's not something that's cultivated in schools. Imagine if you were to receive this information in your first 8 years of school, first grade to middle school. Of course, in other parts of the country, it would be secondary school with high school. Just imagine all the way through, like 12 years of school. This is a part of your curriculum. Imagine that. Now, keep in mind, it's not. Therefore, it's dismissed. It's not acknowledged. It's not there. Most of you have probably come to the realization of this after school, because schools do not dive into this particular subject. The abilities that you have, the power that you have, and what it can do. Imagine if schools focused on this. This was a heavy part of the curriculum. How many of us would be walking around moving objects with only our thoughts? The reason why this is not done is because it's not a part of a curriculum. You will not get this in church. You will not get this from your parents. Where is it spoken? Again, you usually discover it haphazardly just going about life. And then you maybe dive further in and discover, oh, wait a second, I actually can do some things that are a little bit above and beyond the standard. Never thought I could do that. It would require a lot of concentration for these abilities to be enhanced. But again, if you don't practice and focus on these things, you don't even know they exist or not. You're just going off of what you've been told. It's easy to digest what you've been told, especially if you've been told this since you were 4 years old. I say go back to how you were as a child, when you could absorb things, when you were open to things, before you were jaded by society, okay? Go back to that point between birth to, let's say, age 7. The first 7 years, when you could feel everything. No restrictions to your feelings. You felt every vibration that was around you. Do you remember that? I know some of you probably close off your childhood because it was a very dark time in your life. But if you could go back and remember how sharp your receptors were, how you were able to feel every vibration that was around you, that's a very powerful point. It's the reason why they try to manipulate children, because they're very receptive to things. It's obvious. So if you could return to how you were as a kid, I guarantee you would be able to return to your abilities. You would be able to bring them back to the surface. For this week, let that be the centerpiece of how you bring these abilities back. Go back to your childhood. Go back to how you felt in terms of being able to receive and absorb. Think about how sharp your abilities were. Go back to that point in order to regenerate these abilities that have been suppressed. The abilities do exist. You just need to rediscover them.